There are wounds the world cannot see, invisible places where trust was broken and tenderness was used as a weapon. Sometimes it was the ones we loved most who wished to see us fall. Their smiles hid sharpened words. Their embraces were laced with quiet betrayals, and slowly, piece by piece, it felt like they were pulling apart the very soul God had stitched together with such care. Yet even in the silent breaking, there was a deeper story being written. A hand, steady and unseen, was holding you upright when everything else around you was crumbling. The world thought you were abandoned. The enemy thought you were defeated. But heaven was not silent over you. God has never been absent from your pain. He has been bending low, gathering every shattered part of you, breathing life into the places they tried to leave for dead. In this quiet space, we will walk together through the truth they tried to hide from you, that their cruelty could never undo God's calling on your life. You will begin to see the signs, the soft markers of a God who has been strengthening you all along. The weakness they tried to create has become the very soil where His strength is now blooming. You are not forgotten, you are not forsaken, and you are not finished. This message is for the weary heart still beating under the weight of old battles. It is for the spirit that wonders if healing is possible, if joy can be restored, if dignity can be reclaimed. The answer is not in striving harder, but in leaning into the one who never let you go. Let your heart be still here. Let your soul remember. God is not finished with you yet. He is only just beginning. There are wounds that time does not erase. Sharp words once spoken still echo in the quiet hours. Cold betrayals still leave shadows across bright days. Long after the noise has faded, the ache lingers like a bruise beneath the surface. It is not weakness to feel it still. It is not failure to carry sorrow longer than others think you should. Some wounds go so deep that only the hand of God can reach them. No human voice, no earthly comfort, no well-meaning advice can touch the place where the spirit was torn. But even as the wound aches, something sacred has already begun. Beneath what is broken, God's healing is moving like quiet rivers beneath frozen ground. His love does not rush, does not demand you to heal faster than your heart is ready. He moves gently, with hands that know every fracture, every secret pain, every whispered prayer you could not even find the words to speak aloud. He has seen it all, the moment your heart cracked, the nights you wept alone, the mornings you rose heavy with sorrow, and He has not turned away. The ones who hurt you may have walked away without apology. They may have forgotten what they did, or justified it, or blamed you for bleeding. But God has remembered every tear. He counts them, gathers them, holds them as precious. Psalm 47 tells us, He heals the broken-hearted and binds up their wounds. He is not repelled by your brokenness. He draws nearer to it. His healing is not surface work. It reaches into the deepest chambers of your being, the places you thought would stay shattered forever. One clear sign that God's healing has already begun is that the ache, though still real, no longer defines you. It may rise in waves, but it no longer owns your name. There is a quiet strength beginning to rise under the sorrow, like tender green shoots breaking through winter soil. You may not see it all at once, but God is stitching unseen seams into your spirit. His needle is hope. His thread is everlasting kindness. His hands are sure, and He does not leave His work unfinished. In the hidden places where you feel forgotten, God is building a testimony. Where they left you bleeding, God is planting new life. Where they wanted weakness, God is weaving a strength that no man can steal. Even now the healing has begun. Even now you are being made whole. There are voices that try to bury the soul, voices that spoke when trust was tender, and faith was still learning how to stand. They wrapped lies in the tone of authority. They whispered that you were not enough, that you were too much, that you were somehow wrong just for being who you are. Day after day, word after word, they tried to carve doubt into your bones. They wanted you to forget the sound of your own God-given name. They wanted you to be small, hidden, unsure. But there is another voice, older and truer than all the others. A voice that called you before the foundations of the world were laid. A voice that spoke light into darkness and breath into dust. That voice has never ceased calling you, even when the noise of cruelty grew loud, even when shame wrapped itself around you like a heavy garment. The voice of God kept whispering underneath it all, "You are mine, you are chosen, you are loved. Fear not," he says in Isaiah, "for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine." No label they tried to stick to you can cling to the name God has written over your life. No accusation they hurled can erase the word beloved carved into your spirit by the hand of the Father. They spoke shame, but God speaks redemption. They sowed doubt, but God sows a harvest of dignity and hope. Another hidden sign that God is restoring you is found in the quiet space. When the noise falls silent, when the old accusations no longer stir panic in your chest, there comes a small, sure whisper rising from deep within. It is not the voice of the wound, it is not the echo of the past. It is the Spirit of God within you, reminding you that you are not who they said you were. You are who He says you are. In those soft, holy moments, shame begins to lose its power. Fear begins to crumble like old walls. You start to stand taller, not because you are striving, but because you are remembering who holds your story. The name He calls you is not victim, not failure, not worthless. The name He calls you is beloved, redeemed, chosen. And the more you listen to His voice, the quieter every other voice becomes. The more you lean into His words, the more the chains they forged fall away. You are not the sum of their cruelty. You are the masterpiece of a God who speaks life where others spoke death. And He is calling you still, calling you home to yourself, calling you back to the name only heaven knows fully, the name written on His heart, the name that can never be taken away. There are those who feed off the weariness of others. They demand without mercy, take without gratitude, and leave the soul worn thin like a garment, pulled at too many seams. Every effort you gave was not enough. Every kindness was twisted into another expectation. It was a race without a finish line, a burden without relief. Their satisfaction was never in your peace, but in your exhaustion. The more tired you became, the easier it was for them to control the story, to reshape the truth, to bend your heart to their will. But God is not like man. He does not find joy in your strive. He does not ask for endless sacrifice, just to watch you stumble under its weight. His heart is different, tender, steady, full of compassion. In the quiet places where weariness has built its altar, He steps in with hands full of wrath. He speaks not in demands, but in invitation. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. God may have revealed this new way when the hunger for peace grew louder than the need to be enough, when the approval that once held such power began to lose its shine, when the applause of others no longer filled the hollow ache within. There in the ashes of exhaustion, He began to plant seeds of rest. Rest is not laziness. Rest is not failure. Rest is holy. It is the declaration that you are not a machine, not a servant of man's endless appetites. You are a child of God, shaped for communion, not for constant proving. In rest, the soul finds its true worth, not in what it can accomplish, but in who it belongs to. The world that drained you may never understand this gift. They may call it weakness. They may say you have changed, but heaven knows the truth. Rest is the posture of the redeemed. It is the song of the free. It is the shield against the lies that once drove you to the edge of yourself. In stillness, you will hear Him clearer. In quietness, you will feel His arms around you. No longer striving to earn what was always freely given. No longer sacrificing yourself on altars that never satisfied. The one who holds your life calls you to lay down the heavy yoke and take up the easy burden of life. There you will find peace, not as the world gives, but as Christ gives. Peace that soaks into every weary bone, every tired hope, every faint dream still alive within you. And this peace, once planted, cannot be taken away. It grows stronger each time you choose stillness over striving, surrender over fear. It is the gift of those who belong not to the world, but to the heart of God Himself. There are those who see gentleness as something to be used. They mock kindness as weakness, twisting it into a reason for their own cruelty. Soft hearts become easy targets for hard souls. Every small act of patience, every quiet word of grace, was seen not as strength, but as something to be crushed. They laughed at the tenderness God placed within you, not knowing that it was the very thing keeping you nearest to his heart. But heaven tells a different story. The words of Christ ring softly through the noise of mockery. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. What the world calls foolish, God calls blessed. What others saw as weakness, he sees as a reflection of himself. In a world quick to harden, quick to rage, quick to strike back, the soul that stays soft is a rare and holy thing. One quiet sign of God's work in you is this: you chose to stay soft. When bitterness offered you its armor, you laid it down. When hardness seemed easier, you chose the harder road of mercy. You refused to let cruelty define you. You refused to become like those who hurt you. And even when the pain was sharp and unfair, you still longed to bless rather than curse, to heal rather than harm. Kindness is not weakness. Mercy is not defeat. They are the very weapons of heaven, sharper than any sword, stronger than any fortress, built by pride. Every time you forgave when you could have hated, every time you spoke life when you could have stayed silent, you were bearing witness to the heart of Christ himself. His spirit lives in the mercy you chose. His presence lingers in the kindness you gave without asking anything in return. The world may never applaud you for it. They may never see the battles you fought just to keep your heart from hardening. But God sees, God knows, and in his kingdom, those who stay merciful are crowned with honor that no man can strip away. Mercy has a way of finding its way back to the one who gives it. Love has a way of sowing seeds that only heaven can count, seeds that one day burst into fields of blessing. Stay soft, stay merciful, stay tender, even when it costs you. For every act of kindness, every drop of mercy, is recorded in the heart of God, and he will never forget what you chose to offer when it would have been easier to close your hand. Blessed are you who stayed kind. Blessed are you who still believe in goodness, even after standing face to face with cruelty. Blessed are you, for the mercy of heaven is already flowing back to you. There are those who work in quiet ways to isolate the heart. They separate, they divide, they make the soul feel forgotten. In small, almost invisible moments, they pull away the threads of belonging until it feels as though no one sees you, no one truly knows you. Isolation is their tool, a slow breaking that leaves a person adrift and unseen. They hoped that loneliness would crush you, that the silence would empty you of hope. But what they meant for harm, God has turned into an altar. In the place they left barren, God has drawn near. The Lord is near to the broken-hearted and saves the crushed in spirit. The psalmist sings, and in these words is a truth deeper than sorrow. Loneliness, when surrendered to God, becomes holy ground. It becomes the place where his voice grows louder than all others, where his nearness becomes closer than breath itself. Another hidden moment of grace is when the loneliness, once sharp and painful, began to feel different. It did not disappear overnight. The silence stayed, but it was no longer empty. It was filled with a presence too deep for words. There in the stillness, others feared. God made his home with you. He sat with you in the quiet hours. He listened to the cries no one else heard. He stayed when others left. The ache of isolation became a doorway to intimacy with him. Where human hands withdrew, his arms gathered you in. Where earthly voices grew silent, his spirit spoke comfort in the language only the wounded heart can hear. In the deep loneliness, you found the friend who does not betray, the shepherd who does not abandon, the father who does not forget. This nearness is not fragile. It is not fleeting. It is the kind of nearness born from walking through the valley together, the kind that is written into the soul through long nights of prayer, quiet surrender, and the slow, faithful company of a God who knows sorrow himself. You were never truly alone. Though the world grew dim and distant, though familiar faces faded away, heaven leaned in closer. And now, you carry this closeness, like a secret strength. No isolation crafted by man can ever separate you again from the one who holds you. The loneliness that was meant to destroy you has instead made you a sanctuary of his presence, a quiet place where love still speaks and still heals. Fear was their weapon. They spoke in threats too soft to be called threats, shaping your days with doubts, your nights with worry. They fed off the shrinking of your spirit, the hesitations you carried, the second guessing that became a silent burden. Fear was the soil they planted their control in, hoping it would grow so thick around you that you would forget how to stand on your own. Every step you questioned, every choice you agonized over, fed the illusion that you were too weak to walk in freedom. But fear is not the soil God plants in. His garden grows in courage, in strength, breathed into weary lungs. Be strong and courageous, he says through Joshua. Do not be frightened, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. He does not merely command courage, he plants it, slow and certain, into the very bones that once trembled. He does not shame fear, he overcomes it with his presence. One soft sign that God's work has already begun is the quiet breaking of fear's grip. It does not vanish all at once. It fades like the night before the first crack of morning, so slow you might not notice until suddenly the sky is no longer black, but soft gray, then blue. There comes a moment when the voice of fear still speaks, but your heart does not obey so quickly. A small, holy defiance grows where trembling once lived. God is writing courage into your bones, not the loud kind that boasts, but the quiet kind that endures, the kind that steps forward, even when knees are shaking, the kind that trusts, even when every old wound tells you to turn back. Courage that is born not of self-confidence, but of a growing certainty that you are not walking alone. Each time you speak the truth when fear demands silence, a page is written. Each time you step forward when shadows pull you back, another line is carved. Each time you stand your ground in love, rather than shrinking back in shame, the story of courage continues to unfold within you. They fed off your fear, because they knew it made you small, but God feeds your faith, making you strong. Where they tried to break your spirit, he is building a fortress. Where they hoped to keep you caged, he is opening wide the gate. And though the night was long and the fear felt endless, the dawn has begun, and it will not be stopped. There are those who do not just harm the heart, but try to steal the story itself. They speak as if they hold the pen, as if they alone can declare what you are and what you will become. Through shame, through control, through endless rewriting of the past, they tried to twist your life into a version that served their pride. They wanted you to believe you were trapped, defined by failure, marked by brokenness. They spoke over you words of limitation, painting a future dim and narrow, as though God himself had stepped away from the work he began. But God does not hand over his pen. No voice but his can finish the story he started in you. He who began a good work in you, the scriptures declare, will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. His hand is steady. His vision for you is not shaken by human rejection or rewritten by human cruelty. What he spoke over you in the beginning still stands pure and untouchable, waiting like seed buried deep in winter soil. Another sign of his faithfulness is found in the soft stirring of old dreams that once lay buried under layers of sorrow and fear, dreams once surrendered in exhaustion, dreams once forgotten because it seemed safer not to hope. Slowly, gently, they begin to wake again, like a sleeping child, opening their eyes to morning light. The dreams breathe back to life, not through striving, but through the quiet assurance that the story is still alive. This awakening is not by your strength, it is the work of the Spirit, whispering courage into the places that had been silent. Dreams that align with your true calling, dreams that carry the scent of heaven's purpose. They rise not because of who spoke against you, but because of who spoke for you. They wanted to rewrite you into a character trapped in loss, but God is writing you into freedom. They wanted to cast you as powerless, but God is writing you as a beloved child, an heir of a kingdom that cannot be shaken.
They wanted to end your story in defeat. But God has already marked your pages with redemption, with beauty rising from ashes, with a strength forged in the fires they tried to use to destroy you. Your story is not finished. It is unfolding still in the hands of the one who knows you completely, loves you endlessly, and will never stop crafting beauty out of every broken place. In his hands no detour is wasted, no sorrow forgotten, no tear unseen. The author of life has not finished with you yet, and he never once gave his pen away. There were days when the weight felt too much to bear, days when the cracks in your spirit seemed too wide to mend, days when it seemed their cruelty had won, when the breaking of your heart echoed louder than any hope still flickering inside. They wanted to break you so fully that you would never rise again. They wanted your spirit crushed, your voice silenced, your light dimmed, until even you doubted it had ever been real. But there was another watching, another holding every piece they tried to scatter. In the silence they thought was your end, God was at work. He was not